3 spine-chilling real nightworkers' tales, terrifying secrets exposed from haunted hours. The clock inched closer to midnight as Lily stepped into the hospital, a chill seeping through the fluorescent lights flickering overhead like dying stars. The sterile scent of disinfectant clung to the walls, but it felt tainted tonight, almost suffocating. Each echo of her footsteps mirrored the haunting cries of patients she couldn't save. Not this time, not again. They called for help, but the budget cuts had drained her hospital of hope. A shiver crashed over her as an icy whisper danced past her ears, tugging at her curiosity. What secrets were lurking in the shadows of these pale walls? Across town, Tom, the security guard, trudged through the desolate halls of the abandoned school, the floor creaking like an old man struggling to stand. Memories of laughter and learning hung thick in the air, now replaced by eerie silence, interrupted only by the scrape of his boots. He wished he could drown out the feeling of being watched, but the graffiti scrawled across the crumbling walls caught his eye. Lists of names, each one a chilling reminder of the town's countless missing. His heart raced. Had they gone unnoticed, their cries drowned in despair? This place felt like a graveyard of forgotten dreams, and he was the lone sentinel. Meanwhile, the café provided a flickering haven for Alex as the glow from his laptop illuminated his haggard features. With every click, he typed the twisted truths of the town's corruption. But as he wrote, an uneasy terror burrowed into his gut. Strange emails flooded his inbox, their contents weaving a tangled network of threats and revelations. They were horrifying enough to stop him dead in his tracks, detailing events that felt too close for comfort. Could it be more than coincidence? He looked over his shoulder, breath hitching at the thought of having unwittingly roused someone's wrath with his pen. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As midnight wrapped its cold arms around the town, the strands of their lives began to intertwine. Lily's whispered cries turned into a cacophony begging for acknowledgement, pulling her deeper into the mystery. Tom, feeling that penetrating gaze from the shadows, quickened his pace around the graffiti, convinced there was more beneath the surface. And Alex realized he was not alone. Each email now felt like a claw stretching out from the dark, threatening to snare him. The trio was tangled in a web of fear, their lives converging on the darkest hour. Then, like a thunderclap in the stillness, a blood-curdling scream shattered the night. It pierced through the fog, reverberating off the deserted streets, a sound soaked with sheer terror. As if it were a signal, their hearts raced in sync, each feeling the impending danger, the insidious beast creeping closer in that suffocating stillness. The horror was not just out there, it was creeping into the corners of their realities, a cautionary tale spun from the very fabric of their hometown, a town that had whispered, "You are safe here." And now they would have to confront it. Lily froze, the chilling scream clawing at her ribcage. It ricocheted in her mind like a trapped animal, sending chills cascading down her spine. Bodies scattered in the hospital echoed in her thoughts, those she couldn't save. She steeled herself and peered into the hallway, shadows flickering as if alive with their own dark intentions. She didn't imagine it. Someone needed her. Tom's heart pounded. The noise barked through the silent school, and he darted toward the sound, instincts flaring. Graffiti murals swirled menacingly under the dim light, and for a fleeting moment he considered turning back. But the desperation encasing that scream urged him forward. He should be protecting the place, not succumbing to its haunting cries. Sweat trickled down his neck, mixing with the dirt and grime of the night shift. Alex, still sitting in the cafe, slammed his laptop shut, the screen darkening with finality. The scream shattered his thoughts like glass. His breath quickened, adrenaline surged. The town's secrets were begging to be told, but something in the air whispered that they could ignite a chaotic inferno he wouldn't escape. He couldn't shake the feeling he was in too deep. The emails felt premonitority, warnings stuck in a funnel of dread, yet part of him hungered for more. What hidden truth awaited? As they each trekked further into their respective shadows, the sinister bond between them strengthened, stitching their destinies together under an unforgiving moon. It was as if the town itself orchestrated their movements, guiding them toward confrontation. A sinister force lingered, feeding on their fears, the anticipation thickening the air like fog. Suddenly, Lily stumbled upon a room that had been long forgotten, the door creaking open to reveal a void. A heavy metallic taste hit her tongue as she hesitated on the threshold. The screams morphed into desperate whispers. She took a step inside, the light flickering once more, revealing flickering outlines of gurneys and surgical tools abandoned and dusty. But something else lay there, veiled by a heavy curtain. Tom reached the source of the scream and stood at the edge of a darkened corridor. His flashlight flickered, dancing patterns on the walls. The shadows seemed to beckon to him, encouraging him to step beyond the light. Fear fought against his curiosity. What had he been protecting? Clenching the flashlight, he pressed on, feeling the very air grow denser, thick with secrets yet to be unraveled. In the cafe, Alex's phone buzzed incessantly, another email. Sweat trickled down his back as he opened it, his heart catching at the subject line, "You really should stop." Nausea twisted in his stomach. Had he dug too deep into the town's history? The walls were closing in. Outside, the chatter of the street seemed to dissolve, leaving only a haunting silence where hope should be. And then, in a heartbeat, they all felt it, a presence, creeping, watching, waiting. A breath caught in the darkness, thick with dread, obscuring reality from the light of truth. The screams echoed one last time, now twisted into guttural laughter that sent tremors through their very souls, entwining their paths destined to collide. Had they crossed a line, or was this just the beginning? Each heartbeat echoed louder, propelling them toward the unspeakable. As darkness descended upon them, one question remained: who would emerge when dawn finally broke? Lily's breath caught in her throat as she stepped deeper into the room. The air was heavy, stinging her nostrils with a metallic tang, like copper mixed with fear. The only light flickered above her, creating a strobe effect that cast grotesque shadows on the walls. She could barely form a thought. The whispers crawled inside her head, a swirling chaos of desperation and warning. "Are you okay?" A voice broke through the haze, unexpected and rough. Lily whirled around, heart racing. A figure stood half hidden in the shadows of the doorway. Familiar, yet somehow twisted. It was Tom. Where did you come from?" she stammered, shivering not only from the chill, but from the urgency in the tone. "I heard it too," he said, squinting into the darkened room. "What's in there?" With a quick shake of her head, Lily stepped away from the door, drawing Tom further inside. The rusted gurneys and tarnished surgical tools whispered stories of their own, soaked in darkness she couldn't fully comprehend. "I don't know, but we can't just leave," she urged, the urge to uncover the truth clawing at her. Tom nodded, uncertainty etched across his face. They both felt the same heaviness press against their chests, the looming sense of something they were meant to confront. Meanwhile, across town, Alex rubbed his eyes, trying to shake the remnants of terror from his mind. That email still gnawed at him. "You really should stop." As if on cue, his phone buzzed again, a new message lighting up the screen. Heart pounding, he opened the email, frantically reading the words. "You have no idea what you're playing with." Alex dropped the phone, gasping. A chill scurried down his spine as he glanced around the cafe, now suffocatingly silent. Tables and chairs were warped shadows under the flickering fluorescent lights, crawling closer, whispering secrets he wasn't ready to face. "Time to go," he muttered to himself, grabbing his jacket and bolting from the cafe, barely catching his breath as the door swung shut. Behind him, the town was alive with a hum that felt sinister. Back in the hospital, a low groaning echoed from beyond the veil of dusty curtains, drawing Lily and Tom's attention. The whispers intensified, morphing into cries of anguish that wrung their hearts. They exchanged a worried glance, instinct screaming at them to turn back, yet they hesitated, trapped in the glowing allure of the unknown. "Do we open it?" Tom asked, his voice trembling slightly. "No, we need to leave," Lily urged, but the magnetic force of the room held her feet firmly on the ground. Suddenly, the shadows twisted violently. A figure materialized behind the curtain, vague but sinister, sending a jolt of icy dread spiraling through their veins. "Lily, Tom," the voice croaked, echoing through the room like an earned prophecy. It was a name they recognized, one that haunted their dreams, someone they had lost. Before they could react, the curtain tore away, revealing a sight that shattered their resolve. "What the hell?" Tom gasped, recoiling. Alex stumbled through the door, his eyes wide with terror. "You have to come with me. It's not safe." But before he could grab them, the laughter erupted again, raw and menacing, wrapping around them like a vice. The night thrummed with chaos as they hurried toward the exit, but the darkness snarled, refusing to relinquish its hold. With footsteps echoing behind them, they plunged into the hallway, unsure of where the escape would lead. Together they ran, the sinister shadows enveloping them as their silhouettes flickered against the wall. Each breath was a reminder they were not just running from something, but toward an even grimmer truth. What had they awakened? As the door slammed behind them, sealing off the screams, one horrifying thought erupted in their minds. Could they really escape the curse of this town? And if so, at what cost? They raced down the hallway, breaths coming in ragged gasps. The flickering lights painted frantic shadows around them, ever elongating and warping, like the very darkness pressed against them had tendrils. Every heartbeat echoed with the cruel laughter that followed them, mocking their desperate escape. "Which way?" Tom shouted, nearly shouting over the chaos, his voice steeped with panic. Just keep moving," Lily replied, her instinct for survival overriding any rational thought. She could feel the shadows closing in behind them, a suffocating wave of malice that pulled at her heels. Alex, leading the way, stumbled upon a door marked "Emergency Exit." He grasped the handle and flung it open. A rush of stale air greeted them, mixing with the metallic scent of fear that clung to their skin. "This way, hurry!" As they spilled out into the night, the cool air stung, a bittersweet relief from the hellish inside. But as they stood there, trying to catch their breath, they realized they weren't alone. The streetlights flickered above them, casting an eerie glow upon the asphalt. "Did we lose it?" Tom gasped, glancing. Back toward the hospital entrance, Lily squinted into the dark. I don't know." The memory of that voice, the way it rasped her name, chilled her. It felt as if the shadows were still pulsating, ready to strike again. "We have to keep moving." But before they could retreat down the street, a figure lurched from the shadows, disheveled and ominous. It was one of the hospital staff, a nurse they had seen during their brief visit. Her eyes shone with a disturbing luminescence. "Don't trust the night," she hissed, her voice cracking. It watches. It waits. "Ma'am, what are you talking about?" Alex leaned in, trying to make sense of her warning. "Just because you escaped doesn't mean you are free." She twitched as if something invisible tugged at her. "It comes for those who seek the truth. The more you know, the worse it will get." Her warning dissolved into cackling, and then, just like that, she retreated into the shadows, leaving them with a frigid silence. "What the hell was that?" Tom asked, his whole body trembling. "I don't know, but I think she was trying to help," Lily murmured, feeling the weight of her words crushed under layers of dread. A low rumble rolled in from the east, an approaching storm that seemed symbolic of their own turmoil. Dark clouds gathered, and the air thickened, heavy with the promise of something terrible. "Let's get out of here," Alex urged. "We can't stay in this place." They turned toward their vehicles parked a block away, but before they could break into a sprint, the world around them shifted. The streetlights flickered violently, revealing split-second images of torn flesh, mangled bodies, and twisted faces beneath the surface of the night. "We have to go," Lily shouted, seizing Alex's arm. Then, with a bone-chilling crash, the ground shook beneath them. The asphalt cracked, splitting open like a wound, revealing darkness that seemed alive and pulsing. "Run!" They barreled down the street, no longer caring about the direction. Each step echoed a desperate resignation, the laughter returning to taunt them anew, more urgent, more haunting. Lily glanced over her shoulder. The darkness seemed to writhe, reaching toward them with hungry tendrils, hungry for souls it could not claim. "Why are we even running?" Tom shouted, panic rising in his voice. "Where do we even go? What can we do?" "We have to figure out the truth," Alex gasped between breaths, leaning heavily on a lamppost. "We can't let this continue. We have to face it." As they paused, doubt flickering like the lights overhead, the laughter morphed into whispers again, beckoning them back. The temptation was overwhelming, an insatiable craving to understand what lay in that night. In that moment, amidst fear and whispers, a chilling question settled over them. What if the truth was worse than the horror itself? The shadows shifted, and they all knew whatever they had unearthed was just the beginning. Would they dare descend deeper into the darkness? What truths awaited them in the eye of the storm? Lily's breath came in short, sharp bursts as they stumbled ahead. The temperature had dropped, wrapping them in a cold embrace that felt unnatural, as though the night itself had teeth. Each heartbeat echoed, a reminder that they were alive in a world that wanted to snuff that out. "This way!" Alex shouted, veering toward the alleyway. The shadows seemed to dance around them, their forms shifting with sinister glee every time they glanced back. It was the same darkness that had devoured the nurse, that had swallowed their sanity inside the hospital. They reached the alley. It was narrow, the walls lined with trash bins that stank of decay. "What did she mean?" Tom murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, heavy with dread. "I don't know," Alex said, glancing over his shoulder. "But if we don't figure it out, we might not make it out of here." The laughter returned, haunting, echoing off the walls, engulfing them like a thick fog. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. They pressed on, desperate to escape, but the cacophony mocked their urgency, each echo sending jolts of fear through their spines. Just then, the distant wail of sirens filled the air. Relief surged through Lily, yet it was short-lived. What if it's special response? What if they're here for us? "It can't be," Alex replied, pulling her forward. "They didn't even know we were inside." As they pushed deeper into the alleyway, a shimmering figure emerged before them. It was a boy, no older than 10, his eyes hollow, void of light. "Help me," he whispered, his voice devoid of hope. Tom stopped, heart racing. "Don't! It's a trap!" But Lily felt a pull, a connection to the child. "He needs us."
Suddenly, the boy raised his wand-like finger and smiled, revealing a mouth that was nothing but a cavity of darkness. "You must follow. The truth will set you free." Without a moment's thought, Tom grabbed Lily's arm. "Don't listen to him. He's part of it, whatever it is." The boy's form flickered like a dying light, his laughter bubbling beneath the surface. "They're coming. You can't escape." As the boy faded, the air hissed like a snake, and the shadows began to swirl violently around them. They were no longer alone. Shapes moved along the walls, bodies twisting and writhing in agony, faces morphing into torturous expressions that sent chills crawling down their spines. "What is this?" Alex shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "An invitation to learn," the whispers sang, echoing all around them. The ground beneath them trembled again, the pavement cracking in jagged lines, and from the crevices, tendrils of darkness slithered, reaching for their ankles. Instinct kicked in, the trio bolted. Every step felt like a heavy weight, dragging them back, as if the night wanted them to give in. "Where do we go?" Tom yelled, desperation clawing at him.
"We can't just run forever! Let's get to my car!" Lily cried, her eyes darting around the alley for any sign of escape. But just as they turned the corner, a piercing scream shattered the air, a scream that sounded eerily familiar. It was coming from inside the hospital. "Lily!" Alex shouted, as the world around them blurred in a frenzy of shadows and dread, an invisible force pulling them back toward their terror. "What if we have to go back?" she said, fear knotting her stomach. "I won't let it take us again," he retorted, gripping her wrist tighter. But the wail grew louder, reverberating against their very souls. The truth was out there, lurking in the storm, waiting for them to return. Could they really face the horror that had them in its grip? Would they dare venture back into the hospital's mouth of madness? As they hesitated, the whispers intensified, a crescendo of sinister promises urging them closer to the brink. What had they truly awakened? Every instinct screamed at Lily to flee, yet the sound of that scream, echoing from the hospital, sent a surge of fear that clamped down around her chest. It was as if her heart understood what her mind refused to accept. The terror inside that building was alive, and it had claimed someone else. "Don't you get it?" Tom hissed, his eyes wild with fear. "If we go back there, we're finished. We need to find a way out." "But what if it's someone we know?" Lily argued, her voice wavering. "What if they need us?" "It's a trick," Tom spat, shoving her to move. "It wants you to go back. It wants all of us to—" The ground beneath them gave a low groan, shifting ever so slightly, as if something monstrous lurked beneath, eager for release. Shadows prodded at their ankles, searching for purchase. "Stop! Just listen!" Alex shouted. He rooted himself at the alley's mouth, staring hard into the blackness that cloaked the hospital. "We can't pretend we didn't hear that. We have to do something." "But what if it's someone we know?" Lily argued, her voice wavering. "What if they need us?" "It's a trick," Tom spat, shoving her to move. "It wants you to go back. It wants all of us to—" The ground beneath them gave a low groan, shifting ever so slightly, as if something monstrous lurked beneath. Shadows prodded at their ankles, searching for purchase. "Stop! Just listen!" Alex shouted. He rooted himself at the alley's mouth, staring hard into the blackness that cloaked the hospital. "We can't pretend we didn't hear that. We have to do something." Before any of them could argue further, the shadows seemed to swell, expanding into a wave of darkness that charged forward. Lily's breath hitched as she felt it wash over her like frigid water. "No!" Alex yelled, grabbing Lily's arm, pulling her toward the fading light of the alley. "We have to go, now!" But as they turned, the boy's laughter twisted back, rising above the chaos like a malign anthem. "You can't run forever. The truth will find you." They scrambled down the narrow alley, the the garbage bins casting long, grotesque shadows. Each step felt like a race against time, the heavy resonance of their pounding hearts mingling with a growing dread. They were trapped between the pull of the hospital and the weight of death lurking behind them. "Alex, over here!" Tom yelled, pointing at a rusted fire escape ladder hanging askew against the brick wall. With fear clawing at their ankles, throats, the trio dashed for it. Alex reached for the damp metal, fingers slipping against the grime. "Hurry, climb!" Lily and Tom scrambled up first, her heart racing as she strained to listen. The laughter persisted, rising and falling with the beating of her pulse. She could feel it, something dark, something hungry, just behind her. From the top of the ladder, Alex peered inside a broken window. "What? No! Oh, God!" "What?" Tom and Lily hissed together, scrambling up beside him. The glass was cracked like a spider's web, revealing a glimpse into the hospital. The hallways were bathed in moonlight, but shadows danced like spirits, writhing and shifting, leading to where the blood-curdling wail resonated with unholy delight. I can't do this," Lily whimpered, shaking her head as her instincts screamed to flee. "Lily, please, if you know someone's in there," Alex urged, his voice quaking. "Enough," Tom barked, rolling his shoulders. "We need to decide, now. Go back or push through." The laughter spiraled to a pitch that made the air crackle. "Time is running out. Will you join us?" Thunder roared above, sending vibrations through the metal of the fire escape. The storm looming overhead echoed the chaos inside. As darkness seeped from the hospital and began to wedge between them, Lily paused. "What if he's telling the truth?" "Then we're all damned," Tom replied flatly, panic morphing his features. In that moment, dread coiled into a palpable weight, pressing heavily upon them, holding them at the brink. Just as the shadows seemed to rush toward them, engulfing each and every inch, a horrible realization struck Lily. Wait, what if it's not just screaming we have to confront? What if we need to face our past? They stood at the edge, the abyss staring back, ready to consume them whole. The voices clawed in protest, threatening to weave them back into the inky black chaos. The moment hung heavy between them. The decision ignited a spark of terror and courage, mingling with the promise of tragedy that lay behind the walled nightmare. Would facing the truth set them free, or would it only condemn them further? The air vibrated with anticipation, and as they inhaled deeply, the shadows roared their intent. A horrifying revelation was tearing its way to the surface, but time was slipping through their fingers. Would they uncover the truth that awaited them inside, or would it devour their very souls? Lily stood frozen, the choice weighing heavily on her. The hospital loomed ominously, its jagged silhouette cutting against the faint glow of the moon. We can't just leave, not without knowing," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Knowing what?" Tom shot back, his face twisted with desperation. "That we're idiots for even thinking about going in there." "Might be better than a coward," Alex declared, his eyes darting to the void behind them. The shadows shrieked, hungry for their fear. "We need to find out." Lily's words faded, but she felt a strange pull, an insistent urge to face what lay inside. The screams of the lost, the beckoning shadows that whispered a familiarity. "Then let's do it," Tom muttered, resigned. He climbed through the window, the glass crunching underfoot like brittle bone. He stepped into the darkness of the hospital, the air heavy with decay. "Just stick close." Lily and Alex followed, clutching one another. The darkness enveloped them, deep and forbidding, and chills snaked down Lily's spine. Each step was marked by the sharp echoes of their footfalls bouncing off the barren walls. "Where is everyone?" Alex whispered, glancing over his shoulder. The hallway felt alive, the pulse of the building thrumming quietly, almost breathing. Shadows loomed larger, pooling in the corners, eager to swallow them whole. A soft moan drifted from a room to their left, pulling at Lily's heart.
Did you hear that? She breathed, eyes wide with shock. Keep going, Tom urged. Ignore it. But the moan turned into a cry, a voice, the voice of someone they once knew, calling out, chillingly familiar. Help me, please, don't leave me. Lily felt her heart twist. It sounds like it's begging for us. No, Tom shouted, his voice harsh with panic. It's lying. It's trying to lure us in. Can't you see? We have to keep moving. But the call grew stronger, piercing the air like a blade. Lily, Tom, I can't. Don't leave me behind. Against all better judgment, Lily stepped towards the door, each syllable of the plea wrapping around her like chains. What if it is someone we care about? We can't just... Do you want to die? Tom hissed, grabbing her arm. You think that's really someone? It might not even be human. Another voice joined in, layered on top of the first. A child's laughter mingled with the cries, a mockery of innocence. You promised you wouldn't forget me. Shut up, Alex shouted, voice trembling as he pushed Lily back. This is not real. It's a trap. We have to get out. But Lily stood torn, the laughter echoing like a lost memory. I can't leave. Suddenly, a cold gust swept through the corridor, snatching breath from her lungs. It carried with it whispers, the lost souls of the hospital, swirling around like foul smoke. Shadows danced faster, their grotesque faces revealing twisted expressions. Join us. You cannot escape your fate. The air crackled with the weight of their dread. It's all here, Lily muttered, desperation clawing at her mind. It's our past. It wants us. Get out! Tom yelled, as the floor beneath them rumbled violently. Cracks snaked through the ground, splitting the darkness wide open, a fissure leading straight to an abyss that yawned hungrily. Lily felt herself being pulled towards it, something darker than fear trying to claim her. Lily! Alex screamed, reaching for her. She looked into the chasm, and a flicker of recognition flared inside. Faces flashed in the darkness, memories of laughter, of betrayal, of moments she longed to forget. Don't! Tom grasped her, but she felt lighter, drawn to the figures beckoning from the darkness beneath. What if I have to confront it? As her soul teetered on the brink, the boy's laughter resounded again, triumphant, echoing through her thoughts. Come home, Lily. It's where you belong. And just like that, she realized. The truth wasn't just inside the hospital. It was tangled within her very veins. Stop! Alex shouted, gripping her tighter as the shadows writhed closer, hungry for the piece of her they sought to claim. Will she surrender to the shadows of her past, or will they be drowned by the terror that grips her heart? They had drawn the bloodline between demise and deliverance. Now they stood at the precipice. As the ground shuddered, she knew they had mere seconds before the decision sealed their fates forever. But could the darkness be fought, or was it too late to turn back? In an instant, the abyss beneath her seemed to pulsate, alive and insatiable. Lights flickered weakly, casting trembling shadows against the vomit-stained walls. Lily felt a presence behind her, like 1,000 watchful eyes lurking in the dark. The welcome silence shattered, replaced by a cacophony of whispers that curled through the air like smoke, each voice vying for her attention. Don't let go, Lily. Alex's grip tightened, yet even he trembled, fear bleeding into his voice. They want you. What if I have to face them? She choked on her words, an overwhelming mix of dread and curiosity coiling around her heart. What if it's the only way to escape? No, Tom barked, panic seeping into his time like an infectious disease. We need to leave, now. He pulled at Lily as the creaking of the hospital intensified, a mournful sigh of a place that didn't want them there. The floor shifted beneath them, and another violent tremor jolted Lily, causing her to stumble. Alex yanked her back, pulling her closer, eyes wide, pleading. You can't do this. It's a lie. They're not real.
Everything here is real, she snapped, her frustration boiling over as the moans grew louder, merging into an anguished choir. What if they are trying to tell us something? Suddenly, figures materialized from the shadows, hazy outlines of those she had once known. Lily's heart raced. There was Sophie, her childhood friend, face stained with tears yet smiling sadly. Behind her stood a man, unable to hide his bruised and broken face. Her breath hitched. "Dad?" "Help us," they chorused, their hands reaching out, skeletal fingers beckoning her toward the chasm. Lily felt a desperate urge to reach out, to understand, yet doubt clawed at her chest. Were they really there, or just manifestations of her guilt? Her thoughts raced as she wavered, caught between love and loss. The walls around them throbbed, and the lights flickered ominously. "Don't listen," Tom screamed, as another voice twisted into the mix, a whisper oddly familiar. It was soothing, but threaded with malice. "Come home, Lily." The room tilted, shadows surged, and Lily stumbled. "Tom, Alex, we have to go back," she cried, eyes wide, panic clawing up her throat. But the boys were already being sucked back, pulled away by invisible forces they couldn't fight against. Alex's eyes bore into hers, frantic. "You have to choose now. Stay or go. We don't have time." Choking back the tide of emotions, Lily turned to the abyss just as the whispers crescendoed and enveloped her. Each voice claimed chunks of her soul, urging her to relinquish control and dive into the depths of memory. A child's giggle rang out, piercing through the chaos. "You promised!" "I didn't forget," she shouted into the darkness, but the laughter only escalated, echoing like a funeral dirge. "Lily!" Alex's cry sent a shot of adrenaline coursing through her veins, forcing her to center herself amidst the chaos. Fight it! With a surge of instinct, she pulled away from the seductive darkness, pushing back against the whispers that clawed at her sanity. "No, I'm not yours." She could feel the shadows retract, but still, the front of her mind wavered between longing and fear. Each heartbeat thundered in her ears as the void pulsed, desperate for her surrender. The shadows coiling around her legs tightened, determined to reclaim their prey. A split second, not much time. Fear spiraled, but she needed clarity. Something had to snap her out of this nightmare. Suddenly, she thought of Sophie, of the laughter they shared, the secrets they whispered. "I will remember you, but I will not join you." Lifting her chin, she met the fading faces of the past defiantly. Just as the child's laughter crescendoed to a thunderous roar, the ground splintered again. The chasm yawned wider, and this time it wasn't just shadows peering up. Grins turned sinister. "Join us forever." Lily felt a raw scream bubbling in her throat as the vortex of darkness threatened to consume everything. Tom and Alex were urging her back, their voices lost in the cacophony as she skirted the line between reality and illusion. But a sudden thought struck. What if they didn't escape? What if this fate, horror wrapped in an embrace, was meant for them all? As the dark laughter transformed into shrieks of despair, Lily stood at the edge of decision. Would she cling to the threads of memory, or let go to embrace the darkness? And just like that, she knew. The shadows weren't just after her. They were drawing closer to them all. "Lily, we can't lose you," Tom's voice cut through the haze. She closed her eyes against the darkness, heart pounding. But what awaited her beyond this decision would reveal whether they were truly lost or just beginning to uncover their greatest terror yet. With a forceful lurch, the ground beneath Lily cracked, splintering into jagged edges that reached hungrily for her. Her heartbeat raced, thrumming so violently against her ribs that she feared it might explode. Shadows wriggled like serpents, contorting into grotesque shapes that taunted her. their faces etched with agony, urging her to take a step closer to oblivion. "Lily, no!" Alex shouted again, his voice piercing through the fog of despair. Tom was tugging at her arm, pulling her back with desperate strength. As the figures of her past swirled around, laughter twisting into sobs, beckoning her with broken promises. Dread settled in the pit of her stomach. "They're trying to drag me down," she gasped, fighting fiercely against their allure. The hands reaching for her were cold, grasping, as though desperate to pull her into a world temporal and eternal. "Hold on to us!" Tom yelled. The urgency in his voice cracked like thunder, clearing some fog from her foggy mind. She felt the sensation of the floor sinking further, imploding in on itself. Another tremor rocked the room. There was no escape from the prison of dark memories closing in. The figures lunged, and this time their whispers morphed into a singular, chilling chant. "Come home, Lily. Join us." The room brightened momentarily, flickering with a ghostly light that painted cruel smiles on the figures. Was she wrong to want to understand? Shivers cascaded down her spine as they inched closer, sorrowful eyes filled with longing. But at what cost? "Fight it, Lily!" Alex yelled again, voice cracking with strain. And she could see it in his eyes, that flicker of hope, fighting against the dark tide. "You're stronger than this." Caught between desires, she squeezed her eyes shut again, summoning the last grains of her will. "I will not give in. I will not betray them." As if in response, the shadows recoiled, the tightening grip around her legs loosening. Each ragged breath filled her lungs with a newfound heat, a fire igniting within her that pushed back against the night. But the chant surged louder, threatening to drown her thoughts in despair. "We are here, Lily, forever." "No!" A violent lurch shifted her footing as the tendrils of darkness writhed with anger and desperation. The wall seemed to wail, twisting in agony. "You left me," a voice echoed, a familiar child's voice beneath the chorus, tinged with betrayal. She gasped, eyes flinging open. It was Sophie. Her laughter had always danced around them like light, but now it twisted like a knife in her gut. "I never left." A shape beyond the chaos of shadows emerged, the outline of a girl trembling. "You promised we'd always be together." "Stop!" Lily screamed, fighting the tidal wave of memories and pain. "I won't leave them again." The room convulsed violently again. All at once, the memories erupted, flooding her mind. Every moment of joy, every tear shed, and every breath shared with Sophie. They tugged at her, conflicting emotions swirling through her. "Join us, forever." The shadows now bore teeth, the promise dripping with malice. The abyss yawned open wider, a void pulsating, enticing, but Lily knew that surrender would mean eternal darkness. Trapped among her fears. "Lily!" Alex and Tom yelled in unison, their voices breaking through the oppressive rush of terror. But as she clutched onto her memories, a chilling revelation struck her. What if this escape wasn't about fleeing from the shadows, but confronting them? Was she stronger than what had already taken so much from her? Suddenly, the ground felt unstable beneath her feet, quaking like a living thing. Lifting her chin, she yelled into the darkness, "I refuse to join you." The laughter turned hostile, and the shadows recoiled, twisting into frenzied forms. But they had her attention, and the terrifying truth crumbled her resolve. The faces of loved ones morphed into something grotesque, just as Lily realized the horrifying secret. The abyss wasn't just a pit. It was a mirror, reflecting the parts of herself she had buried deep beneath layers of grief and guilt. Tom and Alex were pulling her closer, desperately fighting against the malevolent force. The shrieks morphed into tortured cries for help. "You need us! You can never forget us!" With eyes wide, frozen in realization, she had to make a choice. Fight the past or lose herself to it? Would she fall into the abyss, embracing the dark whispers of despair, or face the terror within, risking everything for a chance at salvation? At that moment, the ground shook violently, and the shadows shifted, poised to strike. The abyss heaved beneath them, the darkness alive and writhing. Lily's heart raced, the weight of fear pressing down on her chest like a heavy iron shroud. She could feel it tugging at her, each tendril whispering sweet lies of comfort. "Join us, be with us." "No!" she screamed, powering through the confusion swirling in her mind. "You don't get to have me. I choose to live. I choose my friends. I will not become one with this darkness." The chasm trembled, shadows twisting in anger at her defiance. Lily felt herself being pulled closer to the edge, the laughter morphing into a furious roar. A primal instinct surged through her, igniting a connection to the light and warmth of her memories. The laughter shared, the hugs exchanged, the promises of lifelong friendship. "Fight it, Lily!" Tom bellowed, his voice fighting through the monstrous chaos, reaching her like a beacon of hope. "You're strong. We'll do this together." "Together," Alex echoed, his desperation palpable yet infused with conviction. "We'll face whatever happens as one. You're not alone." That declaration crashed over her like a tidal wave. Tom and Alex were right there, battling the shadows courageously, their presence a salve against the insatiable darkness. Clenching her fists, she pulled from the essence of their bond, a connection that could not be severed, no matter how deep the shadows tried to sink their claws. As she grasped onto that strength, she spotted Sophie's fleeting face among the dark horde. "I'm so sorry," she begged, tears blurring her vision. "I never meant to leave you behind. I never forgot." Shadows recoiled momentarily, and in that brief pause, clarity struck her. "Sophie, I'll remember you, just not this way." With a sudden surge of defiance, she hurled herself into the depths of her own memory, the glow of light within her igniting brighter than any darkness could snuff out. Faces of loved ones flashed before her, spun from laughter and joy, their warmth pulsing through her veins. "Remember the love," she shouted, her voice cutting through the void. "Remember why we stand together." The shadows trembled, struggling against the power of her words. With their pulsating fury building again around her, she focused on everything that mattered. Friends who had fought for her, the joy of shared moments, and the resilience that stole back her voice from the abyss. "I choose them. I choose life." Suddenly, blinding light shot forth, radiating through the darkness like the first rays of dawn. The shadows shrieked in agony, the cold suggestions flailing against the warmth of her conviction, scorching through the now trembling walls. "You will not take me! You will not take us!" Waves of light cascaded violently, crashing against the force of darkness, illuminating the twisted faces of the shadows surrounding her. They fell back, recoiling with shrieks and groans, their laughter morphing into a cacophony of despair as they faded into the distance. Shuddering, Lily stood with Tom and Alex, their hearts racing, but now firmly entwined. "We did it!" Tom gasped, glancing around in disbelief as the shadows retreated. "We really did it!" "I can't believe we're still here!" Alex exclaimed, relief flooding his features. The oppressive weight began to lift, an unfamiliar but welcomed lightness enveloping them. Yet as the last whispers of the nightmare faded, the ground beneath them cracked once more, the remnants of the abyss swirling in a chaotic frenzy. They staggered back, hearts hammering as reality wobbled anew. But this time they were armed with hope. United, they sprinted back towards the flickering exit, the night air thickening with freedom as they pushed through the doorway, bursts of light guiding their way. They burst outside, stumbling onto the cracked pavement. The storm clouds rolled back, drawing away as the sun began to climb, casting golden hues across the horizon. Breathing in the fresh air felt crisp against their skin, chasing away the remnants of the shadows. As they stood together, wrapped in the warmth of dawn's embrace, Lily turned to her friends and smiled, genuine warmth flooding through her. "We broke free. We fought the darkness together." Tom grinned, his chest puffed with newfound confidence. "The town has its horrors, but we survived, and we'll keep surviving. And we'll make sure those who need to know, do know," Alex added, determination igniting behind his eyes. Truth will shine brighter than the darkness. In that moment, with the dawn illuminating their faces, they felt a spark of hope ignite within, a shared promise to face whatever truths were yet to be uncovered. The shadows could never claim them again as long as they stood side by side. As a gentle breeze bid farewell to the remnants of the night, their hearts swelled with a bittersweet mix of sadness and liberation. The horrors that haunted their town may never fully disappear, but they had learned to reclaim their power, to embrace the light together, and turn the darkness into memories of loved ones lost. And with that, they moved forward, into the rising sun, aware that they would be okay. They had one another, and that was enough. Remember, if you loved this journey with Lily, Tom, and Alex, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that will unfold. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. Leave a comment below and share your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let's keep the conversation going. Finally, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Together, we're building a community that faces fear head on.